Hey guys, Mike here. So, well, what a day in the market, and finally we got to see some weakness. Obviously, yesterday's video was perfectly timed out, and we'll talk about those stocks. Because remember, we said if we're going to see weakness in the market, what do we got to see? Got to see the semiconductors, right, start to sell down, and the big boys were having fun in pre-market, even last night, actually, before I went to bed, running those semi stocks up, okay? And then, of course, dumping them this morning. So we're going to look at the charts because we're hitting some very important critical levels. But really, all you got to know is today, especially, you hit nice round numbers. That's what you hit. Nvidia got that 140. I thought 135 to 140 before you see some kind of dump. And then, of course, the S&P, we're talking about 5,500, right? Over and over and over. I believe that was Tom Lee's number for June. I think he was ahead of schedule on that one. But so, that's what that was. As soon as we hit them, immediately you started seeing sell downs and stuff. But what was weird about the day is we had economic data weaker than expected. Okay, with jobless claims and something else came out. I think housing permits, everything else was hitting bad, but yields spiked by 1.5%, which is very strange. I don't know. I didn't see any news that would make that happen. The only thing I did see was, very important to note, the Bank of England did not cut rates like everybody expected. Okay, Canada did it. We talked about all the other central banks that had been doing it. Everybody was expecting Bank of England to be next, and they said nada. Okay, so I don't know if that, comes over and people say, oh, well, if they're not cutting, what in the world are we cutting for, right? So here we go. And so maybe that's what it was. Let me know if you found something on that. I will show you the chart on the 10-year, by the way, because I think really more technically is what the bounce was from. And I'll show you exactly why and the level we might actually get to as well. And I'm going to also show you part of a members video I did today. I did basically talking about the week we're in now, starting June 20th to June 27th. One of our members posted in Discord and got me curious. So I looked at what he was talking about, and it's 100% true. So I'm going to show you exactly what you can be expecting historically over the last 10 years, what it says about this week we're in right now. Also share with them July's data, which is stunning, to be honest with you. Something you rarely see, to say the least. And then we'll go into some other stocks like Chipotle. I think I said it correctly that time. I've never eaten there. But that's got something very critical coming up because it had one of its worst days in a long time. And something that could continue to make it sell off. So we'll talk about that. Now, when you look at the video I did for them, just real quick, it takes like 30 seconds at max. Here's what you can expect now that we're in the 20th this day for the next 5 trading sessions, maybe even going to the end of the month. So check it out real quick. And when you look at this, you can see obviously today is June 20th. We're starting off red, right? Which is kind of crazy. I mean, yields have been popping. The Dow's roaring. Dow Jones Transportations are up over 1.5%. It's kind of crazy. But just looking over the last 10 years, you can see in 2014, it was green. Then all of a sudden we hit many reds, right? So 2015 is red. 2016 is red. And it depends on when the 20th hits. I'm trying to give you like 5 full trading days and all that good stuff. 2017 red. 2018, shocker, hold your breath. It's red as well. Go to 2019. It's red, and then we shift over to 2020, and I can't believe it, but it's actually red as well. And so this is playing out, and then we hit a streak in 2021 right here. We actually ended up green. It was actually a pretty decent week right there. And then 2022, we were going through a bear market rally, so we ended up green right there. And then in 2023, you can see we went back to red. So out of the last 10 years, 3 times it was green, 7 times it was red, and we've had this big run up. So another thing you saw today, guys, wasn't just round numbers, it was rotation, right? I mean, look at XLE, biotech, utilities, financials, even fintech got some love, really. XLC, and they were just selling down all these different stocks that they were way up in. I'm talking about like Wall Street, right? And just rotating to some of these. Okay, and that can be a good thing, and why were they doing this? Well, let's see here. Last 3 months, we've seen the 10 largest stocks in the S&P 500 up 17%, while the remainder, 490, are down 1.3%, not doing anything, right? And of course, maybe the fact that the NASDAQ 100 was overbought to the point we hadn't seen since 2018. 2018 was a rough year, so don't even try to compare that to this year, because when that happened in 2018, it sold down like 10% or something. So no, I won't be expecting something like that. But and that's how overbought this was, right? So people are taking profits. They're up huge in these stocks. Now, the reason why you want to see that breadth branch out, obviously, as we talked about, when you look right here at the RSP, this is what the chart I didn't show you yesterday, but I told you about it. And you can see It's getting almost breaking out right here, okay? Maybe it wants to come down, pull more liquidity if we have a bad week, which you just saw could happen. But you want to see that, and it can happen because this is what happened on these big rallies we had, right? May's rally, it broke out just like that. This is a stock, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, ETF, just like anything else, right? So whenever we have big rallies, and so, you know, let's say July is going to be a good one, right? You're going to have RSP cooperate and do it, okay? And you can see if I draw a trend line down here, this is when we sold off 10% last year. What happened? Boom, trend line comes down, we break it, retest it, boom, take off, right? And that's what gave us a huge rally from November going into January, okay? So that's what I was saying. Even if the big boys start to trade sideways or go up very slightly, but nowhere near what they've been doing, and all these other stocks start to rally and come up and move up, even though, you know, maybe they rally them into earnings, because we don't expect earnings to be super great or anything, and neither does Wall Street when it comes to anything but the Mag 7 and semiconductors. But if that happens, and again, you can see maybe it's a wedge. If you want to look at this right here and go, oh, symmetrical triangle or something, it's wedging in there. Maybe that's what happens. So watch for that. That is critical. Absolutely critical. And then when you look over here, Nvidia, obviously, we'll go through these real quick. As soon as it hit 140, boom, major sell down. And then what's it hit? That trend line. Okay, so it's holding the trend line. It's holding onto it like it's holding onto a cliff or whatever. But we talked about this area here. This is not major support. Okay, a few days don't make support. That's just the way it is. These are 4-hour candles. Okay, you need more than that. So that's why I was saying if it breaks that trend line in this area right here, definitely between like 115, 120. It's going to make much better for support right here. It's not great, but it is what it is. You take what you can get, and that will be a decent sell-off for sure, right? I think people would absolutely step in at that area depending on what's going on in the market. And the moving averages do you no good because it's so far overstretched compared to everything else. We've already talked about the other ones we're going to look at that are overstretched. But, you know, it's Nvidia, so don't be surprised. Tomorrow is monthly Opex, so maybe they grind us to kill premiums on both sides and keep us in a tight range or whatever. But if it does break that trend line, this is where I'm expecting to go, that first shaded area for sure. And then look at SMCI. They did this overnight. Remember we talked about those trend lines. So it's got room to run off of Elon Musk's tweet especially. It came up there, hit it, immediately sold down. They were like putting call sweeps like crazy on this one when it first opened up. And so maybe it comes down to the shaded area if we continue to see some weakness before we get the bounce. You go over to MU. We talked about this, that little candle right there, top and tail, whatever you want to call it, reversal type candle, and that's what we got, right? We end up selling down. And so this one's up huge, way overstretched, way overstretched. And I would like to see it come back down that trend line, but again, it's got a couple gaps it can fill before that. Normally you get the gap and then you get the bounce and all that good stuff. But a trend line between 133, 135 would be nice. I mean, very structural if that happened. Taiwan Semiconductor, we talked about the top and tail. That's another reversal candle, right? And that's what happened. It came down right here. And so, you know, we'll get to see, because it's another one that has gaps to fill, right? So watch that area right there between like 165, 170. See if it comes down there. Maybe it gets a bounce. If that doesn't happen, this area right here between 150 and 158 would be a great area to see a nice bounce here for sure. And I think if we even bring up the moving averages, I mean, that would give you, it's like a 12% from here, so maybe what, 15, 16% overall. And you bring up moving averages, hey, there's the 50 moving average. So, you know, that would be a nice area if this week continues to be red. That's the nuance of this. If this week, which historically is not that great, continues to do this. Now, AMD was the outlier, right? It actually went up huge. I didn't find any news what was going on. I don't know if it was just technical and it was bouncing off the bottom of this channel. Some people call it a bull flag, whatever. A false breakout, of course, came back down this shade area, which has always been a point of interest for selling and buying. So we'll see if that pops up. Let me know in the bottom if you saw some news. I couldn't find anything on that one. Thought it was kind of weird. Now, speaking of SPX, we talked about 5,500, right? The S&P sold down immediately as soon as it hit it. I mean, it's a nice round number, a lot of profit taking. That's all it is. Okay, it was bound to happen, and it's about time it happened. We're down below that midline again. We talked about this daily fair value gap to come down and grab liquidity, and that's what it started digging into today. Again, these are 4-hour candles right here, okay? As I told the members this morning during the news brief, the market might continue to melt up, but if we do get a pullback, watch 5350 for support, which coincides with the 20-day moving average. The S&P 500 is still in positive gamma territory as long as it remains above 5460, which it did today. And when we come back and kind of draw this out, that level right there would come down. Maybe we do the daily fair value gap, get a bounce, fill this gap, bounce. That trend line right there, that trend line is around 5360 right there. Okay, so that would be, and that trend line is the one that goes way back, right? Way back. And so we'll see if that's what happens. It's only about 3% move down. Now the 10-year I talked about, maybe structurally is what this bounce is all about for getting news. And you can see, I mean, we talked about this daily fair value gap to come down. We're at the bottom of the channel. So it's getting this bounce right here, even with bad news for the economy, okay? Watch this area right up here where you see another fair value gap within an inverse fair value gap. And when we pull up the moving average, you'll see why I like this area if it continues to move up like this, okay? It's, again, strange that it would move up on the kind of news we had today, but hey, it is what it is. But if it does continue to get up there, I can't imagine it's going to get through this area. I'd be very surprised because of what you got happening there. And if we pull up the moving average, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's not just the 200, it's the 100 moving average as well. So that will be a great rejection point. And if that happens, hopefully what you see is small caps, things like that happening. But what was very strange today, before I even get into the rest of the stocks right here, is the fact you had Dow Jones transportation stocks up 1.5% when everything else was red. Dow Jones up as well with the yields. That was strange. All right, it was really a kind of a strange day, to be totally honest with you. But it is what it is, and I didn't really see any reason for that. But and small caps were out doing the Qs and all this other stuff, and then finally they went red. So it was a crazy day, and that's what you expect during Opex. That's what you expect when markets are really overstretched, and others like the Dow and the Dow Jones Transportation that have been getting beat down finally get some love, right? A little rotation into them to push them up. We'll see if that continues or not after this Opex is over. And when you look right here, the other stocks I want to talk about is Chipotle. That trend line is key. It had one of its worst days in a couple years. Big sell down on this one. But the big thing to watch is this right here. If we are going to come into a red week, this is not the week you want to start doing stock splits. But what is it doing? Next week, it actually does do a stock split, right? A 50-for-1. So it's going to be crazy seeing Chipotle. Let's say it's 3,000 when it does a split. I think it'll be like $50 or whatever it's going to be, $60, whatever that is. That's going to be nuts to see, right? We ain't seen that in so long. It's been years, I think. But that trend line is going to be key right there, right? So watch for that right there if this weakness continues to bounce, because that's where it's been bouncing since, I don't know, I guess going on like 8-9 months right now. So if that breaks, you can guarantee we're definitely heading down around probably like between 2,900 and 3,000, somewhere in that range right there. But yeah, and so this is one of those ones you could see a sell-off on this stock split if the market's heading south. Remember, we saw Nvidia when its stock split, the market's heading up, and it just kept running up. Walmart kept running up when the market was running up. Okay, that's the way it works. It goes with the market, so keep that in mind. Now, NVDA is another one. It's down here at this trend line once again where it's got multiple bounces. And we'll see if that trend line is going to be enough for this one, or is it want to come into the support area right around between like 100, actually 98 to 103. Seems to be a good place for it. But watch that one. This is a high flyer. We all know it. It moves pretty fast when it does move. And, if you start bringing up something like a stochastic RSI on this one right here, you can see what you really need. You need this bullish cross, which is trying to form to get over that 20, right? And when that happens, I kind of let you know momentum is starting to shift back into it. Once it gets over the 50, though, that's when it absolutely just freaking flies. And so, again, I'd wait for confirmation on that one because it can drop farther. Now, Chinese stocks, huge shorts are piling into what they call the Chinese large cap ETF. This is the iShares one. It was into emerging markets. You can see it shorted that one, and then the shorts had to cover because it started moving back up. So they are shorting the large caps, right? And so FXI is this one right here. We talked about it. It's sitting in this discount area after that big move up before. They started shorting the heck out of it. Needs to start finally breaking up. It hadn't quite filled this gap, so it could fall farther for sure. I mean, they could just continue to keep shorting and shorting. But if it does turn and start to move up rapidly, shorts are going to get scorched again. We kind of know how this works, and that's why you see these rapid moves up. Now, for this to happen, obviously stocks like BABA have to start moving up, right? They're all in this discount range. This one's this one actually did fill a gap right there after that huge move up. So it's one to watch out for. It's back down in that phase one deal right there, below the 30-week moving average, stuff like that. And so, this one will have to start moving up. And then another stock you're looking at is something like a JD.com would be another one needs to start moving up, right? Again, down in the discount range, sitting there starting to fall below moving averages and all that good stuff. And this is one of the remember I told you this back in the day, I said, do not front run this. At least I'm not front running any kind of Chinese stock. And what happened? That thing just sold down. Until you break above that trend line, which goes back a long way, 4 or 5 years, it all means nothing. And when it breaks above that trend line, then you can see a huge explosion up, okay? So just be careful with these. Now, only kind of earnings I would look for tomorrow is maybe CarMax if you want to. And then we do have red folder news after market open, 9:45, flash manufacturing PMI, flash services PMI, existing home sales, along with like $3 trillion in options. I believe it's quad witching. This is where you get just boatloads, monthly, weeklies, all this stuff expiring at the same time. And so a lot of times they do like to squeeze you in there and just crush premiums from puts and calls and everything else to finish it out. And maybe the reason why you see maybe the 20th through the 27th can be rough is because you're coming out of a huge Opex, right? Which is where I think quad witching falls and stuff. And so there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of repositioning, profit taking, all that fun stuff, and then trying to set up for July, of course. And so that's a big thing. So at least I want to make you aware of it. And I don't tell you this news to scare anybody, by the way. I didn't tell you that stuff yesterday to scare you or anything like that. I'll tell you to make you aware of it, right? And just be prepared and look at it and all that good stuff and not be shocked at why is this happening? And so that's why I at least inform you of it. You take the data, you do what you want to do. It's where you want to make members videos for the members, right? Stuff they can use, not just for next week, for the rest of their life going forward, and understand and put it on their calendar and just be prepared, okay? And so no big deal there. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of it. Please hit the like and subscribe button on the way out. Please put any questions you have for Saturday's video you want me to answer, and I'll try my best to answer. And if not, hopefully one of you guys can answer it. So anyway, see you guys Saturday.